So we're gonna be talking about the Disney Haunted Mansion movie for a couple reasons. First of all, we do know that a new one is going into production. I believe this month actually, with Owen Wilson in the lead. And I forget there was another cast member that was also put onto that project. I forget. We don't really know who they're playing, but we do know they're in the movie. So we know that another Haunted Mansion movie's coming. We also have the Muppets Haunted Mansion special dropping this Friday, and yeah, I'm very excited about that. So let me go over my experience with Haunted Mansion. I know a lot of the atmosphere and characters from the ride, but that's not from actually riding the ride. I've done it before. Um, my knowledge of Disneyland and Disney World and that kind of stuff is very limited just because I live in a family where we could never afford to go because it's incredibly expensive. So, we did never go that much. And we're also, I don't think most of us just are vacation people in general. So we tend to go on vacations, but not as much as your average family would. So, yeah. Now, going into this movie, I had a couple expectations. I liked Eddie Murphy, and I would wanted to see his performance in this movie because I love Eddie Murphy. Coming to America is one of my favorite movies. Beverly Hills Cop, Trading Places, some of the great stuff he does. But I'd also heard completely awful things like this, like as if this movie was completely abysmal, as if it was terrible, just one of the worst things Disney has ever made. And watching it, it wasn't that at all. It was not a good movie, but it was not horrible. Um, so what I know of the ride, this movie is not very accurate to the ride because this is about a couple uh, who ends up trapped in this mansion, and and that's why all the ghosts are trapped there. But in the ride, it's just a place for ghosts who are left to wander, and then they just all meet up in this mansion. That's where they hang out. That's kind of the story of the ride. It's not very complicated. Of course, you need to expand it a little bit for a movie, so I don't mind them changing it. There isn't much explanation to why some of the other ghosts are in this mansion, but whatever. And yeah, this movie, I was not bored or irritated by it. I think it was just frustrated with how cliche this movie was. There's a cool, darker aspect with the Haunted Mansion stuff of this movie, but it's largely sidelined for family drama with Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy plays a dad who works too hard and he doesn't have time for his family, which is like in every family movie. It's a cliche, it happens so often. And it ruined a lot of the atmosphere in this movie because I think all the ghost stuff was great. I think the effects on the ghost stuff, the atmosphere of the mansion, the music, the tone of it all, I think it was great. Um, but it's just the actual like comedy with Eddie Murphy, who's delivering a lot of quips here, trying to be very very funny, and he just does not work and balance the tone with the movie. See, the point of a movie like this is, even this was a balance of the ride. Walt Disney and some of the Imagineers were debating: do we make this ride really scary, or do we make it really funny? And they kind of came together, create a balance. That's what the ride was created out of, and that's not what this movie did. It couldn't get a balance of horror and darker elements and comedy. It couldn't get a balance to make it work. Because obviously some of those ghosts in that ride are really comedic. Some are actually legitimately scary. It's fun, and that's why that ride's insanely popular, and that's why this movie just failed. I don't think this is a horrible movie. I think people have overplayed this. I guess if you were a fan of the ride, it would be disappointing. I get that, but at the same time, it's not one of the worst Disney movies based on a ride. It's not Country Bears bad, so I don't know what the overreaction to this movie is. I would say if you're a Haunted Mansion fan, maybe worth watching once because there were some good elements that do work here. If you're an Eddie Murphy fan and you want to watch all of his movies, this is this is not a horrible one to watch. This is not one of his really bad movies. It's just mediocre. That's what this movie is. And I think the overreaction to this movie is ridiculous, if you ask me.